I'm Jade of Jaded Reader, and today I'm going to be going over my March TBR. Participating in the Royally Book Club, the Bookie Trials Royal Weekender, WitchAthon. This one is for Astra or Astara, as well as a buddy read and some of my own personal preferences. I'm really excited for all of the books I have this month. I don't think I've been this excited about like a full TBR in a while. I oftentimes will feel slightly overwhelmed or a little overcommitted. This time I just feel really energized and ready. I think it's because I had a really good reading month in February. I had Blackathon as well as the first half of Cosmerealong, and I just read like a whole bunch of really great books, and I'm just gonna go ahead and continue forward with that momentum. First off, I will talk about the Royally Book Club hosted by Rachael at Rachael Marie's Book Journey, as well as myself as a co-host and several others I will have linked down below. We are doing the Cosmerealong, which is spanning through the entire Cosmereverse. There are several series within this larger world, and I'll go ahead and leave a link for you so that you can find out all the information that you might be looking for in my personal announcement. So if you're not following along, there was the link and you can catch up. For the Cosmerealong, our first book is indeed Elantris. I am at the exact halfway point in Elantris. Absolutely loving it. Very much so digging Elantris. This is my first book by Brandon Sanderson, and I've heard that it's actually like his worst, which is excellent news for me because I'm absolutely adoring it, and I'm really enjoying the Discord chats, and just I'm immersed in this world, and I can't imagine how good his writing is if this is his worst. It's not too late to go ahead and participate in Cosmerealong. You can either still catch up and try and finish this book within the month of March. As people are behind, people are ahead, we're all reading at our own pace, and Rachael has an amazing Discord chat where you can actually talk to people based off of which chunk of the book you're on. It's just very well organized and a lot of fun, a very positive place. And the second half of Elantris is what I'm completing for that read along. Next up, it's another Rachael-centric month, and she is hosting a Royal Weekender. This is part of her Bookie Trial series she's been doing for readathons. I'll link your information to the Bookie Trials down below, so if you feel overwhelmed, don't worry about it. It's actually really simple, and you get to do a personality quiz. For that, I'm a Magi, so I have badges that I can earn for the Royal Weekender, which is 48 hours of trials and challenges that Rachael herself will be hosting, and takes place the weekend of March 28th and 29th. I have Magi badges as well as everybody badges, and I have one book that is going to complete all of them, so I'm very, very happy with myself. I'll go ahead and list an abbreviated version of the challenges here, but if you'd like an in-depth look, Rachael has everything under the moon you would need as far as documents and explanations go, so I'm just going to be talking about the Magi. First, you have Oathmaker, and that's to share your TBR. Here I am. Then we have Tournament Ready. That's to join in on the competitions that Rachael has figured out already for us. After that is Power Surge. There's going to be a 2-hour-long reading sprint where each team will be competing for, I believe, page counts. I'm not going to be a very helpful source as I do read incredibly slowly, but it'll be fun to at least read for 2 hours straight as I have booked this entire weekend for this event. Then the last badge for everyone is the Tome Champion, and that is to complete one book. I'm hoping because I've only picked one book that I can do this and complete it. The Magi specific challenges are Expansive Lore, Read About a New World, Master of Your Craft, Watch Your Favorite Booktuber. I have tons of favorite booktubers, and I'll make sure I'm caught up on their videos and will give them a watch. Then there's Clairvoyance, which is to read a 5-star prediction. I can't imagine me giving this less than 5 stars. It sounds absolutely fantastic, right up my alley. And then Magi Might, a book with a purple cover. If you've been paying attention to my interactive community feature on YouTube, you may have a guess of what this book is because I was deciding between 2 books I was going to start today. I ended up starting Guinevere's Deception based off of your votes, but I have absolute faith in this book that it's going to be amazing because it has several of the tropes necessary for me to enjoy a book. This is Mirage. Not only does it have a beautiful purple cover, its summary also definitely caught my attention as I've gotten subtle hints that this is somewhat of a sci-fi as well as a fantasy. You have a main character, Amani, who is taken away from her isolated moon and put in as a body double for a queen who is very disliked by her kingdom. And while it might sound nice tries to take the place of a queen. Amani herself had no choice in this, and she is a prisoner in everything but name. One of the only glimmers of hope she seems to have is that she very much so is getting along with the queen's fiance. The only reason why I think that this is a sci-fi is because the subtle moon reference, as well as a beautiful star map at the beginning, so I have very high hopes that this has a sci-fi fantasy element, or at least takes place in space in some capacity. I really like this sort of storyline where there's these odd circumstances. The idea that it takes place in space, but also has like kingdoms and maps. You can always get me with a map, as well as this beautiful purple cover. This is not the original cover, this is my Alcrate edition, but because of all of these things, it fulfills every single prompt for the Weekender. I've had this book on my shelves for a while, so being able to read it and read more of my physical TBR is definitely a goal of mine, and I'm also just super excited because I believe there might be a second book coming out for this, and this will get me all prepped and ready for it. Then, swooping back into the middle of March, I'm also going to be participating in WitchAthon, hosted by the amazing, fantastic Rhiannon at Crescent Moon Reads. After a long hiatus, Rhiannon is finally back, and I'm so glad that they are going to be hosting WitchAthon again, as well as it being Ostara or Ostera. It's just a fantastic transitioning season, and without further ado, I'm going to get into the prompts for that. There are 7 challenges all surrounding Ostera, the first one being Spring Means Rain. Pick a book that involves water on the cover, in the title, or as part of the story. For that, I have Cursed. This is a graphic novel by Frank Miller and Thomas Wheeler. It is an Arthurian legend remix where you have the Lady of the Lake as your main character, and of course, Lady of the Lake, water. You with me here? Great. This is the ARC version that I was gifted by Soleil at Little Reader's Corner. Thank you so much, Soleil. I'm really excited to get into it. Frank Miller illustrates some of my favorite comics, so having that amalgamated with one of my favorite things being Arthurian legend, I am incredibly excited. Second, Ostera is a Sabbath of rebirth, and accepting oneself as trans is often an experience of rebirth. Choose a book with a trans main character. Rhiannon makes it clear that trans also encompasses non-binary and other gender marginalizations, so you can keep that in mind. For this prompt, I will be reading The Wolf in the Whale. This is a novel by Jordana Max Brodsky. The Wolf in the Whale follows a young Inuit shaman as they try and figure out their identity and also brave harsh environments such as icy tundras and snowy forests. I don't know a lot going into this story, except for females are supposed to turn into whales while men into wolves, and this character is trying to figure out if they truly are a wolf or a whale, and if they have been placed in the body that best suits them. I am just super freaking excited for this book. It sounds absolutely beautiful. I hadn't gotten to it because I didn't physically own it until Rachel Marie, of course, sent it to me for my birthday, and it was just an ultimate kindness, and thank you so much. I'm so excited to get into this. Even though it's no longer going to really be winter and we're transitioning into spring, I think that this book will still fit in beautifully with those feelings of Ostara, and I just can't think of a better book for it, so I'm very excited to get into it. The Wolf and the Whale also fits perfectly into our next prompt, which is Pan is a god of spring, wilderness, and nature. Select a book where the theme of survival and nature is prominent. So as I said, harsh environments, wilderness, nature, this definitely applies. Our next prompt is a very easy one that circles us all the way back to the beginning of this video. The light is coming back this season. Let it lighten your load. Choose a novella. I actually have 2 novellas that I need to read for the Cosmerealong that accompany Elantris. So when I'm finished with Elantris, hopefully this matches up well. I have Emperor's Soul and Hope of Elantris that both need to be completed. Here's to hoping I get my shit done. The 5th prompt is Ostara brings about color in the natural world. Choose a graphic novel. You of course know I'm always going to take a chance to lighten my load, so I'm doubling up, and Cursed will also be my read for this prompt. The 6th prompt is plant a seed of some kind and begin tending to it. If you cannot commit to plant parentage, try planting something new at a park or nature reserve. A plant that is also compatible with the ecosystem. Rhiannon is of course always looking out for nature, and also point out that long-term commitment is not always my thing, so I'm going to go ahead and help my grandma in her garden. She has a beautiful garden surrounding her front yard, backyard, and koi fish pond, and this is just the time of year that she's really planting quite a few things, so I will make sure I get in there and help my grandma with her garden. The last prompt I will not be able to complete, as if I'm being honest, don't have the money right now to purchase a whole new book, and my Audible credits are dwindling pretty low. The group book for WitchAthon this time around is The Black God's Drums. This is by Jelly Clark, and I'm just going to read the blurb on the front cover of this gorgeous book, a sinewy mosaic of Haitian sky pirates, wily street urchins, and Orisha magic. That sounds fantastic. I would love to give this book time and attention, so I'll definitely be adding it to my digital TBR, but I definitely appreciate Rhiannon putting it on my radar, as eventually I hope to get to it. There are still a few books that I'd like to mention that aren't part of readathons or read-alongs, but are my personal preferences, books that I really wanted to get to. And you will notice that there are a bit of a theme with these books. I definitely wouldn't call it a secret TBR, as I don't believe it's very secretive, but I'll go ahead and allow you to try and guess the theme of the things I have been trying to read this month. First off, I will be buddy reading with Soleil at Little Reader's Corner and Madison from Princess of Paperback upon their journey here, because they're coming to visit this spring. We will be buddy reading The Sword and the Stars by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy. So this is an author duo and couple who brought to you the debut Once in Future. This is the second in the Once in Future series. This was also an arc that was sent to me by Madison, and she also sent one to Soleil because she very much so wants us to buddy read this together. I will go ahead and link a vlog up above of me reading Once in Future last summer, and you can go ahead and draw your own conclusions for this series. I had no real ambitions for continuing it on. I didn't really care for the first in the series, but it did have great queer representation, and maybe now that there is a new setting in the second book, things might take off. Maybe they gain some traction on what they're trying to do with these books, and love it or hate it, I'm sure we'll have a great time reading it together. Next up, I have The Book of Mordred. This is by Vivian Van Velde. I actually really like this hardback. It just doesn't film well, but this is a book that follows Mordred's perspective throughout Arthurian legend. I don't know much more than that. Everyone has a different take on King Arthur and his stories, so I'm really excited to see what Vivian Van Velde, who has a very fun name, has to say about Mordred. And so my deepest, darkest hope is that I do indeed get to this March, because I really want to read it, and it's a perspective I have never read from before. Finally, you guys just voted for me to start this book, and I am now on chapter 2, and that is Guinevere's Deception by Kirsten White. This is a book from Guinevere's perspective, but there are quite a few changes that I've already noticed. I'll never say that Guinevere wasn't clever. I'll just say this Guinevere is different from other Guineveres I've read before, and that is that she has a ginormous secret that, while it is kind of revealed in chapter 1, I think for me it helped propel me forward. I'm very intrigued, and so I don't want to give that away. So far as the writing style goes and the storyline goes, this does feel very much so like a classic Arthurian retelling. One of my all-time favorite Arthurian retellings is Queen of Camelot by Nancy Mackenzie. It is old, it is aged. I have read this book so many times that I'm really hoping that Guinevere's Deception has a lot of similarities while maybe modernizing the story a bit, because while I didn't like Once in Future, I did like that it was a hot take on Arthurian legend and that they were able to make spins on something classic with some major changes. I'm really hoping I enjoy this. All I know is in this world, Guinevere is coming to Camelot, albeit nervous but seemingly willingly, and that Camelot is now a place without magic. It has been banished. I'm going into this one with a fair amount of naivete and what the actual plot is about, just knowing that there's some different dynamics between Guinevere and Arthur, and Guinevere's entire person to begin with is enough for me to get started, and I'm really excited to continue on. Okay, I'm done. That's the end of my TBR. Welcome to March. Forget February. It was dumb anyway. We don't like February. I don't like February. So maybe I'm projecting, but regardless, I hope you're enjoying the sun or more stars wherever you are. And until next time, bye! This is Barrage. Barrage? Nope. This is Barrage. I did it twice. Are you I just tripped over all of my books. This is a novel by Jordana Max. Why do I have an accent when I'm saying this name? Jordana Max Brodsky? Jordana Max Brodsky. Jordana Max Brodsky. It's the Max and the ski. Come on, Jade, you're learning Japanese. You can say these two words together. My boyfriend's making faces outside of the window. He's not my boyfriend, he's my husband. Shit, I keep forgetting. harsh wilderness and nature. My partner is freaking get out of here. Who is this by even? That's right, the fun name. Okay, is this an arc? Oh, that's a spoiler. Those are hopes and dreams and aspirations, and they could be crushed at any moment. I'm really hoping that it just kind of works itself out. I don't know. I'm just rambling, and maybe I won't hate it. Let's try that again.